Hello, everyone. Had the great pleasure of speaking with Laura Madden, who is the ReFashionista. She also is a wonderful artist who uses repurposed materials for her art. Let's jump into our conversation.
Laura Madden, welcome to Howard Bright Rose Studios Off the Mag. Glad to have you. Truly interested in your aesthetic, the whole refashioned art, and your whole idea of everything old is new again, right? So, thank you for being here. And so let's talk a little bit about your fashion, and then I'll show some of your art and we can talk about that as well.
Great.
So, explain to me, how did you get into, because what you're doing is not just like going to Goodwill or going to, it's kind of a philosophy, right? So if you can explain some of that, that ReFashionista thing, and then, then we'll talk about your, we'll get into your art.
Cool. Yeah, I love how you said that. It is actually a philosophy. That's a really good jump off point. I feel like instinctually, for some strange reason, since I was a little kid, I've always been obsessed with old things or other people's things, just the history, the story, I guess on some level, like the soul of something that had lived with somebody else who actually was able to give it meaning, always just stuck with me. And then, getting up in years, I started to just develop more and more of an affinity for things like vintage and antique. And again, just like the history, the story, the life before it. And then getting on in years further, I started learning about sustainability, and that really started with fashion for me, and learning about how fashion is one of the biggest polluting industries on the planet, and like being so stunned and disgusted by that, because I'm a major fashion lover and I probably borderline hoard fashion. And it's just a huge passion of mine. So how could it be something that's causing so much despair for so many on the planet? And so it really started, that sustainability topic, like fashion really started jumping off on that. And slowly that trickled into all other areas of my life. And I've always made my own art, still pretty new to selling my art and pursuing my art professionally. But eventually I got to a point where I started to think, if I'm always repurposing clothing, why can't I do it, with my art? If I'm always making art, why can't I take something old that maybe is damaged or past its prime and remake it into something new and stylish and cool, or something that met my aesthetic? So part of it was the practicality of just living in more sustainable ways. But then part of it was just like this love for old things, and just kind of like that instinct / obsession. So it kind of came from a few different things. I think eventually it was like gonna find me, one way or another. And so, today, all of my artwork is made using reclaimed materials. I quickly found out that there is no shortage of stuff, especially stuff that no one else wants, and so instead of sending something that could be perfectly good to landfill, why not give it another life?
Yeah, make it into something cool, right?
Yeah. And so part of it is like kind of like my philosophy, what exactly you nailed it, of inspiring or like prodding people to look for beauty where it's not normally found. Maybe they could find it in someone else's discard. Maybe they could reimagine it from something that they already own, that they could refresh themselves. It's gotten so deep for me now, because now I've been doing it for such and such amount of time, and so I can't not do it. It doesn't exactly make my life easier, as in terms of making fine art, that I intend to sell to someone else, but I can't not do it.
Awesome. So let's show some of it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So if you can take me through, what this is, whoever did the photography actually captured a lot of the facets of the object. So take me through, what you were thinking, how you put it together, and then we'll move on to the, I'll show you, we'll just move on to the next.
So some of my work is 3D. This is one of those pieces. And so I created a series that I call ReFashion Resculpt, and it is 3D wall art. It's meant to be sculptural. I really, and this started off by wanting something really unique and unusual and avant-garde, like something that someone's going to look at and really, be perplexed at what the heck am I even looking at here, but also something that brought a fashionable edge to the walls of your home or your office. And so I had the idea, this is basically plastic, unrecyclable plastic. And so I got this idea because I started saving these things. And this is just plastic that came, it's packing material that came in some package that was delivered to my home. And I just thought, how can I use this? How can I avoid just throwing this in the trash? And so I got a canvas. I love these, thicker canvases with more depth. And I used a very simple spray glue. You can use many different things, but for this one, I used a very simple spray glue. And I affixed the plastic. I sculpted it on there and finessed the life out of it until it was in that, configuration that really just struck me. And then I spray painted it. And then I used a gloss on top of this. So it's essentially a plastic sculpture.
Yeah, it's really, I love the whole dimensionality of it. And, it definitely gives the feel of something being reused, but kind of made new again, which I really, especially with all the facets and all of the way the light catches it. So I definitely see that as like an installation piece.
Cool.
Is it big?
Well, I was just going to tell you this one, and I just thought of it as you were speaking. I do need to create a very large. I have one next to me, but it's made of fabric remnants, but I do need to create a very large piece of this exact makeup. This is actually an 8x10, and this was just accepted into an exhibit here. So that's exciting, but this is a very small piece. This is an 8x10.
Yeah, I guess, for me, there's no reference to size, and I haven't seen it yet. So to me,
it's tricky.
It looks like a big, like I said, like an installation piece. So right. I dig the black and white, and then you have some things that you've done in color that you sent me. And
I do some. I do use some color.
Yeah, no, this is also very cool. Now, are they supposed to be separate tiles, or is it all one piece? How does this one work?
These actually are separate tiles. They're ceramic tiles. And I actually played with the idea of affixing them all as one piece to a board, a plank, and actually making it one, almost like a collage. Many of these have sold, so but I can make more. And I love the idea of that. It would just be very heavy because they are ceramic, but they're thin tiles. They're just like tiles that would go on the wall of, a bathroom. But these are 6x6 inch tiles, and these are all hand painted. But they are separate tiles, and they make great, decor for your desk, or, you would put them on like a little picture stand. and or decorate your shelf, you know, something just playful and fun. And you know, they're not meant to be serious. They're playful and fun, and some of them have a little more of that graffiti style edge. These were, I created a series called Decor from the Heart, and I am going to make more of these because, like I said, many of these have sold, and so it's just a fun gift.
Yeah, it would be great to see that as the backsplash behind a sink in someone's home. So that
I
would
really
really,
love
that would be
that.
really reusing the reuse, right? So
Yeah,
that would,
yeah.
you know, and I just thought of that like a second ago. I was like, wow, that'd be really cool if that was a backsplash behind a sink or
Well,
in a bathroom.
Howard, I wish we had this conversation a few weeks ago because I'm redoing multiple bathrooms right now, and that would be an awesome idea.
Right. So if you painted you painted on there and then you kind of used some sort of fixative where it could be wiped and re-cleaned, right? That would be a like what a way to, right? Could you imagine like something? I could imagine this in like in actually in a mod kitchen, or you know, I just like if I was redoing a teenager's bathroom, that would be like a right. They could
So
work,
cool.
they could work with you on right. Hey, could you paint this or could you paint that? I mean, you could do, because you know, obviously you could do the faces and the hearts, but you could do sayings or whatever kind of inspires them or inspired you to do that.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna do that. I'm
this
gonna
is
do
really,
that.
really cool.
You'll
This
you'll see it,
is very
Howard,
cool. So
and I'll give you credit. Don't worry.
no, I'm not looking. So look, I'm gonna fess up. So I've been in creative my entire life, right? I've never done anything else. I had an aberrant part of my life where I had to you know, sell cars, but at that time I was still running my own agency and still doing this. Um, what happens is that I just get turned on by it, and that's why I have my channel. I get turned on by it, and I just love the creative sharing. So I've been doing
Yeah.
stuff like this. Like right now, I run an agency, and I'm the VP creative at a medium-sized agency. And when I have discussions with the artists who I work with, you know, the people who are doing all the graphics and all of that kind of stuff, these are the same conversations I have as I start to look through and start to see the application, you know. And aside from, hey, could you move this to the left? Can you move this to the right? Can you make it more legible? Right. My entire life is based on legibility, but it's just, that's my aesthetic. Is I just love to like interact with people like you who are doing all this cool stuff, um and you know, and help you ideate. I mean, that's really where I'm at. I'm not, I, you know, that's, you know, even with Melissa, when I was doing it with Melissa, we were, you know, she and I came up with some cool stuff, you know, like I love here, I love this because it's outside the frame, right?
Yeah.
That's my, I just like, I love that you did that because, you know, I like drawing. I was saying this to myself this morning. I was like, wow, I really like to draw outside the lines. So when I saw this really, you know, I found this inspiring as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's part of why I finally let myself be an artist, because I've always loved this idea of coloring outside the lines. And it's kind of like just letting who you are, you know, be who you are, you know, not hiding your true self. And you know, I've always considered myself a little unusual and just weird. And I probably really am. But so it's like accepting that and not trying to fit in the box of what everyone else seems to look like they're doing or how they're looking. But with art, I feel like truly, you know, there are no rules. Either someone likes it or they don't, and that's just the way it's always going to be. But you know, there are no rules to what you can do. It's just play.
And to me, it's, you know, because I've been doing this for so long time, right? You're just trying to get a reaction, right?
Yeah, totally.
To me, it's just somebody finding an emotion from something I'm doing, right? I mean, that's in part of what I've been doing with my channel is I actually interviewed somebody who's a comedian who had a very, very hard life. And his whole aesthetic and his whole thing is, if I could make you laugh, I'm done, right? I've completed the action. And he is really a very inspirational guy. And, and that's what his focus is. His focus is on making people laugh. And that's the, to me, that's really the strength of this. Aside from drawing out of the outside the lines, I just like like you said, it makes you think, it makes you have an emotion. And I like that you don't care whether I like it or not, because that's not why you did it. You did it because you liked it. And that's most important.
Totally. No, I'm like taking notes because you're brilliant. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So here's the love one. I'm thinking that those are your hands.
Yep.
So what is this, and what did you reclaim to make this?
Okay. Well, this actually is a print. This is actually not a reclaimed item. This is a new I guess, product, if you will, that I'm trying out. This is an acrylic block. It's a 4x6 by 1 inch acrylic block. And this is a print. This piece has sold. The original was actually very large, and that piece has sold. And now this is being repurposed onto this product.
So is it sandwiched? Is it behind it? How did you put that together?
It is behind it.
Okay.
It is behind, it's on the back.
Gotcha. So you're actually looking through the block at the piece of art. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I like that a lot. And this one is my favorite.
Woo! That's one of my newest pieces. Thank you.
This one is my favorite. I see a lot of things in here. I love black and white and little splashes of color. I mean, you might think that this is crazy, but I'm seeing some Picasso in this. He did a very famous painting called the Guernica, which was, which I'm kind of seeing in here.
Really?
I really, I just think that it has this kind of motion to it that that really drew me to it. You know what I mean? So what is this? Because this is really very cool.
So this is called Crescenza. It's actually, this is a little bit bigger, 38 by 40. This, I just love abstract art. And honestly, I'll be totally transparent. In making this, I wasn't trying to make it look any certain way. I was kind of just expressing a range of emotions. I was feeling big at this time, and I kind of just let it all flow through my hands. And I just wanted something that looked kind of like, I don't know, like expression, like just pure expression. But I love just kind of like that boldness in the middle. And then we've got some wispies on the sides, and it almost looks like, it could be like someone taking a photograph when they're going like 80 miles an hour out the window of their car. And then this is just a vintage frame I picked up that I found at an estate sale. And I really love pairing those vintage frames with the modern abstract art. So it's that mix of the old and the new, and in that contrast of sometimes something like rather ornate with something a little more minimal and pared down. And that's just something I just am obsessed with, pairing those old things with something new. And I guess modern would just be the best way to describe it.
No, it's really very cool. I looked at this one for a very long time. All right. And
thank you, Howard.
Here's another one of your reclaimed plastics, it looks like to
Yes.
me. So
Yes.
this is similar to the black one, similar technique.
Yep. Yes. This one here, it's using, I'm not even exactly sure what this is called. It's more like a styrofoam that's very pliable, comes in a lot of, with appliances, a lot of, online
Oh, I see that now.
purchases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm
You
seeing that.
probably,
Yeah.
you probably have some of it at your home lying around somewhere from
That's for
something
sure.
you ordered. And so this one takes a little bit more finessing, but I do use a staple gun with this, and some of the glue, sometimes even like a house paint that's a little bit tackier, a little thicker, will work as well. And I just sculpt it around until it gets to that point where, like what you were saying, like, can I get a reaction out of someone? Can I get an emotion? So I just keep working on it till I feel that in myself. And then this one again was spray painted white. And then there was like, I forget what this product I used was actually called, but this sealant. And this one was a matte coating that went over the paint.
Cool. All right. And then last but not least, the love. So
Yeah.
at first I thought that it was a little bit melancholy because of
Yeah.
because
A
of the
bleeding heart.
because of the dripping. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I kind of looked at it and I was like, well, now I'm not made so sad by it. So what were you thinking?
Well, I'm not even sure why I did this, to be honest, because most of my stuff is totally abstract and I don't make I don't make much that is literal. But I do love the playfulness of a heart, but I wanted it to be unusual. And so that's why I added the drips. I love just kind of like a hint of that graffiti art style. And so this started out with some house paint, black first, then the white, what do you call it? Like, I'm losing the word.
Well, it's
Not
like a dry brush.
Yes, yes. And then some spray paint to actually form the heart. And then I used a leftover house paint to use the drips. And I just dragged it across, dragged it. And then I scraped some of it off. But this painting, the original, had text. And you can see down in that kind of like lower left-hand corner, it says relax.
Right.
So that was just a little bit, that was just a teeny bit of that text that I let show through, that I let stay there. And it's a good reminder for myself. I feel like it's always a welcome reminder. So I just thought that was kind of cool. And also going with the sentiment, like it's meant to be stylish and fashionable and fun and playful. And, it's meant to be a mood lifter, but at the same time, I like my walls to be, to kind of soothe me at the same time because, life is stressful.
That's for sure. Well, it's very subliminal. I love the way the relaxed sits back. Maybe that's why in the beginning I thought it was melancholy, and then at the end it influenced me to, want to think a little bit differently about it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people look at it and they say, oh, the bleeding heart, like a broken heart. So a lot of that's what comes to mind for a lot of people at first. But interestingly, I'm doing some a rug collection right now with a local maker here. And so this was the first piece that has been repurposed into an actual carpet.
Wow, that's going to be neat once it's finished. Is it finished? Because once it's finished, it's
Yes.
with that in 3D.
Did I put the photo? I thought I sent you the photo.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
So let me see if I have that. Hold on one second.
Yeah, there it is.
So that's the
Yeah.
3-dimensional version of it? Oh,
No, that is the carpet. It's 6 feet by 6 feet.
let me.
It's actually really beautiful. It's a wool silk carpet.
Wow. So that's it. Oh, too big.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, now I could see it as a woven, right? Neat.
Yeah.
That's really very cool. That's
Yeah, you know, I've kind of it's interesting. You know, I'm just like trying to find other ways that I can use my art to, you know, influence people and to just have that impact on people. And you know, what I'm learning is there's just not that many people that need actual wall art. So now I'm starting to think beyond the art. How else can I use some of these things in other ways? And that's where, you know, I came up with the acrylic block and now the carpet. Because it's like, how else can people utilize art? Or how else can this be useful to people, you know, so they can actually enjoy it if they don't need to fill the walls of their home, or maybe they don't have walls, or, you
uh,
know.
that's neat. I never really, I didn't think of that. I thought that it was being made into a rug. I didn't know that this was the actual rug. This is
Yeah.
very cool. All right. So, we're, I'm going to ask you some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. That was awesome. Your work is really beautiful and super impressive. And I love the way that you kind of take these objects that don't necessarily go together and make cool stuff out of them. That's a real talent. So like I said before, and I said in our email, I'm having like an issue with some of the folks that I don't want to say I work with, but the people who I'm interacting with, um, about the history of art and the history of fashion and how, you know, how that it nobody knows who anything about it anymore. And I based a great deal of my career on knowing that, so that I was able to build like I said earlier, like a visual repository. And it's funny, either you know it. So I have a bunch of photographers who are, I'm still like, they're my friends and we talk all the time, and they know everybody, right? They know everybody from back in the day till right now who's hot, right? And you can see, and we talk about it, and we have these conversations about, you can see how somebody's grabbed a little bit of this and a little bit of that and then made it into their own style, right? Musicians are really good for that, you know, and obviously, you know, you being a like, you know, into this kind of cool kind of reusing of fashion, and you know, I wonder how that influenced you, about like when you buy a piece, you know, are you interested in the history? I mean, do you look for specific kind of pieces? How does that work with you?
You know, it's a really good question. I think it's always just kind of been an instinctual thing. Like I mentioned, you know, even from a very young age, I've just been fixated or drawn to things that look old, to look like that look like there is a history there. And it's just kind of like, wow, you know, yeah, yes, to what you're saying. And it actually, I do see a lot of what you're saying with a lot of this maybe newer generation, so to speak, not really knowing a lot of the history of where these things came from, or the philosophies of where some of these like art forms came from. And I think part of it is, you know, it's become a little bit of or a lot of a disposable culture, whether it's fashion or, gosh, so many things, even art. You know, so many people would rather go to Target or whatever and, you know, buy something that they might just have for a year, a couple of years. But I think it can help, like, just it can help us to continue to evolve and develop what we're doing, instead of just I don't know, just like taking what's cool or of the moment and trying to emulate that, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, my wife and I, there's a very big flea market locally here in our where we live outside of Chicago, and it's once a month, and we go because we like the, right, aside from, you know, all of a sudden you become friendly with the vendors and they recognize you, and you know, that's because that's part of their shtick. Right, some of the pieces we come from New York, and especially where my wife grew up. My wife grew up in a place where a lot of like New York folks, like people who live in the city, have summer homes and have cottages in the woods, because that's what's going on up there. And we see pieces here, and we're continuously saying, honey, could you imagine if we had that at home? It'd be worth it, 5 times what this gentleman is asking for it. And we always look, we open the drawers, we like, and it's always, and some of it is so funny. It was, it'll say, you'll flip it open and you'll see in the back, it was made by Sears and Roebuck, right? And it's this fantastic Art Deco mirror set with a big mirror and a low seat, and then it's got a man's dresser and a woman's dresser, and then a makeup table, and it's in good condition, but it's all like bird's eye maple with all the right shapes and all the right handles, and even though that right now might not be what people are looking for, we remember when it was, and they ask, very reasonable prices for it, and it'd be worth 5 times the amount if it was in a store, in the, in those areas. And it's really funny, some of them have rings from people putting alcoholic drinks on them and stuff like that, and the vendors leave it alone because to them it's part of the provenance, and that, and that's really what they're selling, right? They're really not, they're selling, a lot of folks, because some of the stuff is not very good and garbage, right? But some of it is absolutely fantastic. And we go so we can hear some of the stories that are behind, we found it in such and such a mansion, or we found it in the back of a barn, and all of that. And, that's what we enjoy. We enjoy that part of the history of the things that we're looking at. And, and it's nice. It's all outside. It's very big. They have a tremendous amount of vendors, but that's what we look at. We look at the listen to find out what was the backstory on the piece, or, so it's so cool. And we've had a lot of fun. I mean, my wife was a model. She was one of Donna Karen's first fit models in Manhattan. Wow. So we know I started out as a fashion photographer back in the day of days. And so we know all of that. And, and the two of us have tried to, it's originally what brought us together. She came to my studio. It was like a whole, and then eventually we got married. But we've always done that. So we lived out of the country for a while. We went and we would look for garage sales for whatever country we're in, just so we can see what people buy, just to get that experience. So cool. And it's a really kind of cool experience.
Yeah, it is. And it just creates like such connection to almost like another time.
Right. And, and you wonder, and it's funny. Right. So I'm involved in the socials, that I have, Instagram, and I have like you, and I have LinkedIn, and, all of the social things. And, and sometimes I get a little loud on, for me on Twitter, because I have opinions and I feel that they need to be heard. But the immediacy of that, I think, is really very interesting. And some people think it's harmful and some people don't. I think that it could be used as a tool to kind of teach people, like what you're doing, right? Oh, I just saw this, this foam wrapping stuff. I could paint this and make it into something new and groovy, right? I think that's what really needs to, what I'm trying to bring. That's why I have this channel, why I interview artists, why I am, into this, because that's what I think is missing. So I got inspired by, believe it or not, there's a guy out there who does this with music, and his name is Rick Beato, and he is the guy, right? This guy knows so much about music history, and he went to music school. He was a professor of music. He traveled. He was a gigging musician. But the pace of his YouTube channel is so inviting, and he's so appreciative of what the artists did during the music that's what brought, I was like, hey man, you're the nephew of some really big guy, somebody who had an amazing career. Maybe you could do this also. And so that's what, that's why I'm seeking people out, and I'm so glad that you were here. And I'm so glad that you were able to, to join and help me understand what you're doing. And, and that's really what this is for. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you having me on so much. And I'll be totally honest, I love talking about my work. I love talking about this work and this whole subject. But I really appreciate your take on it. Like I said, I was taking some notes because you describe things in ways that I actually haven't been able to. But I really love your intellect on some of these things. So I might be reaching out to you at some point down the road for some ideas.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
It's almost like a branding. Do you do branding? It's almost like a branding mind.
I do. So what I do is I do branding. I do creative ideation. That's really where and then I shoot. So I started out in stills and in film. And, that whole kind of storytelling idea, that's really what that's really that's my thing, right? As I like the story, I like listening to people. I like listening to their, right. And then picking out a couple of things and saying, hey man, maybe we could do this, right? So that's the, and I've always, and that's always been the way, even when I was shooting, and it was all about making the story. And now I'm doing it now that even though I'm not shooting, I'm still in charge of it. So I have to, and I have responsibility to clients. So I still have to make sure that their story, the person who's doing the creative story, and the story that the agency that I'm working with is trying to portray is all there. So it's it's an interesting balancing act, but it's a great deal of fun. Laura, thanks so much. Please do me a favor, run down all of your socials, where people can find you. And anytime you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. So it's yours. Take it away.
Cool. Thank you. Well, best place is Instagram. My art Instagram is at ReFashioned Art. I also have more of my fashion and my lifestyle, which is at I am Laura Madden. And then my website's shop.iamlauramadden.com. And that's my e-commerce site. And then more of my portfolio site is iamlauramadden.com.
Awesome. Laura, thank you so much. Have a great day. It was
Thank
really
you,
great
Howard.
to get to know you. If you need anything, please just reach out. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
I'd like to thank Laura. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please subscribe. This is an unsponsored channel. Looking forward to showing you some new artists in the future.